Oh, and bam, it looks like we are live and recording. We've got Nathan. How are you today?
Excellent. Thanks, Ben.
And Jordy, you are our first repeat guest. You should feel pretty special.
I do. Glad to be here.
And Dirk, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good.
And by this morning, I mean 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's all relative.
We're getting there. I'm leaving Williston this evening, and so I was peppering Jordy and Dirk to see if we could get one more episode in while I was still down here, and they were gracious enough to jump on again. And so I think we'll just hop into it. Dirk, real quickly though, what do you do for Capex so people know?
I'm a dispatcher here in Williston, so handle all the trucking, people, requests, shopping lists, all the fun stuff.
I came across a quote today, and it says, know what your customers want even before they do. And I think that probably describes the dispatching role, or a portion of the dispatching role, pretty well.
That's
hey?
pretty accurate, yeah.
Okay, now where are we going?
No, I think Dirk understands that fully. You know, kind of dispatching in a previous organization, and then coming over here, where obviously there's some third party stuff that we do, and then with our housing accommodations, you never know what the request is going to be. So you really got to be nimble. You got to be quick, and you got to be prepared for any requests that could be coming. Would you say, Dirk, as compared to, how would you compare dispatching at Capex compared to some of the other places that you might have dispatched?
There's where I dispatched before, it was more, a lot of it was internal, and the third party was more spaced on trucking, really. Here, there's a lot more to it, which I kind of enjoy. There's a lot more little things that go with it, and a lot more thought into it. A lot more pre-planning for what you got to do. A lot of trying to think ahead for what they might want, what they might need, what certain customers might want in their trailers. It's just a lot more fun. It's a lot more engaging.
Yeah, and I was telling Jordy and Dirk earlier, this is my first time being down here in a while, and I've just been so impressed with the caliber of people that Jordy's been bringing on. And if you know anything about Jordy, he just preaches people. And Dirk was one of them, just sitting in his office yesterday, and Jordy and I and Dirk couldn't stop laughing about the different stories going on. And Dirk, you bring a real light atmosphere to the organization, and there get a little chuckle, and I haven't gotten much more than that little chuckle that you just did right there out of you. But it's been pretty special for me to come down, because I mean, I think in the last 3 days I've probably met a dozen people, and 3, 4, 5 of them I think have been veterans and young guys, 30 years old, a couple probably 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. They've been to Iraq, been to Afghanistan, came here and just came with a real good attitude about everything. So it's been really fun to catch up with these guys and to, like I said, see the caliber of guys that Jordy's bringing onto the team. And Dirk, you're one of them.
Thank you. Happy to be here. It's
Yeah, I can say here, go ahead, Dirk.
No, go ahead, finish.
No, it's just cool too, because we're part of an organization that's split between 2 different countries, and it's just really, really cool to see some faces and hear some of the stories from the people in the U.S. It's just really neat. And so that was part of why I enjoyed listening to Jordy's podcast yesterday, and then now we get to see Dirk. And Ben, you should just stay down there and keep rolling through these guys. It's really neat to see.
Might have to.
Just come back soon.
I got to come back.
Yeah.
I will. I will have to, because I could do here all the things that I can't easily do in Canada. Last night I went shooting, went out to the shooting range and the outdoor shooting range, and that was awesome. Great weather, amazing. They did some really nice upgrades here in Williston on the outdoor shooting range they have. But man, I will be glad to leave and forget the mosquitoes that were coming at me, and I was just bit up all the left and right side, and whew. But fun to be able to get out and shoot again and do some of those American things that you can do so much easier in America.
That's right.
We are
Especially
proud.
in Williston.
Especially in Williston. No, really proud. Dirk, what's one of the, and I kind of prepped you before jumping on, no last names, no customer names. We got to keep it nice and clean. But what's one of the craziest things in the last kind of 3 or 4 months that you've been dispatching that you've had to send out to site? Because we get customer requests, and Jordy already kind of alluded to that. So what's one of the craziest things you've been asked to send out there?
Find some size 10 camo Crocs. And I've had to get backpacks embroidered, pressurized mud scale recently. It took me forever because nobody has those out here anymore. But the Crocs was pretty funny. And, certain colors of Gatorade in certain amounts. Specific types of Tide Pods, or it gets pretty funny.
Did you know that's what you were signing up for, Dirk?
No, but it keeps me laughing.
As maybe with supply chain, how difficult it can be to get some of those things right now. I think, with you coming into the organization here in Williston, that's what's been fun for me is not only can we get it done, can we find it, do we take it seriously, to get the product, to execute, but to kind of laugh and make fun of it as well, because, it can be difficult to get it. It can be difficult to execute, and even to have that focus on, the size 10 Crocs when there's so many other things going on. But no, it's where it's been really fun to have you within the Capex brand here in North Dakota, Dirk, and, just enjoying it. So
I do enjoy it. It's been fun.
When we were talking about some of the deliveries that we were having to do this morning, I just kept running through my head that we're like the Capex, the Amazon of the Bakken, or like something there, because it's like, it's not, can you get this to me sometime? It's, can you get this to me today? Like, it's real-time delivery is what we're being asked for. And just kind of
recently called and asked if I could bring him whatever ink I had on the shelf until I could order 10 more.
It just came too.
What printer ink do you have?
It just got delivered 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the podcast here. It actually was delivered to the office, so we'll be able to get that out tomorrow.
Yeah, it's over there in that bag right there.
Thanks, Dirk. Yeah, it's one of those things that's unique maybe unique to Williston as compared to even some of the other plays in the U.S., but certainly unique to Capex versus Apex, the requests that we get and that are provided. And for us, it's just all about service, like keeping the customer happy, and that's part of it. And, we don't let it get overboard, and certainly nothing unethical, but man, they come in with some funny asks, and we do it all about providing that service down here. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the left-handed can opener was the oddest request that I had seen prior to Dirk coming in. I'd never heard of such a thing. I don't think we were able to find one.
Wow. We'll have to work on that then. Yeah, no, Nathan, what do you think? We've all had to be dispatchers here on the call here. It's something pretty special to do, but can have some early morning and some late nights.
Yeah, it's funny when my introduction was into dispatching was with Flomax, and so we deal exclusively with sewage. And in my first 6 months, I kind of started in a very cold stretch of the winter, and it got to the point that whenever my phone rang, my heart sunk. I had to actually change my ringtone because I was so sick of that one ringtone. It actually, people talk about being triggered or gaslit. Yeah, there was just that one ringtone. I don't think I could hear it one more time. So because it was just problem after problem. It was such a cold stretch, and we had so much sewer freezing up all over the countryside. I just didn't want to hear those phone calls anymore. But we've gotten a lot better at it. Now I don't mind hearing my phone ring. Maybe it's somebody looking with some good news.
Oh, you broke up just 1 second there. Somebody looking for what?
Oh, just somebody maybe with some good news now that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dirk could be calling you looking for trucks.
Absolutely. I'll call anybody.
He's got to call up. Yeah.
Yeah. And Dirk, when did you come into Williston or the Bakken?
It would have been, I believe it was the winter of 2010.
Ooh.
My first job out here was on a frac crew in the middle of January.
Ooh, that was a tough winter.
I really rethought my decision for a while. But for some reason, I never left.
That was a rough winter. Do you remember anything about being out in the field that sticks out to you?
I remember hugging the hydraulic line as hard as I could.
And I'm assuming that was to stay warm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't work very good, but
I actually had a similar instance where the equipment we had it was like a reefer unit, fifth wheel reefer unit trailer with the dolly jacks, and the dolly jacks froze. So we couldn't get them up. And then once we finally got them up, we had another trailer come out and we couldn't get it down because it was froze. So I had to hug the dolly and put any weight that we could on it to try and get it down. So that would have been that same winter, probably the same time you were struggling to stay warm. I was doing the same thing somewhere else.
yeah,
That was a rough winter
definitely
up here.
an eye opener. Like I grew up in Utah and I thought I knew what cold was, but I didn't.
That's probably about the same thing. Oh, I said that on when we were talking to Fuzz, Nathan. I grew up in Iowa, and I thought I knew what winter was. Then I came to North Dakota. I thought I knew what winter was, and then I went to Red Deer. Now I'm getting a better understanding. But our friends up in Fort St. John and Lac La Biche and Fort Mac, they know what winter is up there. It's not the same. And Jordy, it's kind of funny. Dirk said just about the same thing you did right before we jumped on here. He said if you knew what you were getting into, you may have not come out here.
Yeah.
If I'd have known beforehand, I probably might not have shown up, but I did. And it's like, well, I'm here, gonna stick it out.
Yeah.
Here I am all these years later.
It's the same way we got him to join Capex. We didn't tell him what he was doing. Might have rethought that decision if you knew what you were doing.
No.
Who you were working with.
As far as my dispatching career has been, this is by far my most enjoyable. It's a great team here. Jordy's an awesome boss, an awesome leader. The team here is phenomenal. The crew pretty much take care of themselves. There's very little drama. It's been awesome.
We still got a lot of work to do, but we're on the right track.
Well, it's never going to be done, but we'll try hard.
We're always building.
Yep. No, so I titled this episode a Capex update. So we don't really need to get into a Capex update too much. We talked about it a bit yesterday, but Dirk, I think you guys got some trailers going out next week.
Yeah, possibly two packages, at least on the well side. Completions is just kind of, who knows by the day what's going to happen there.
Well, and it looks like we turned that into a couple of different opportunities. Had a couple different packages that ended up slowing down, and it looks like we have two more of those completion sets going out. So one mobilizing tomorrow, and the other one we're not sure yet of the time frame, but another new customer that we're excited to send equipment out to. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun when we can, maybe more officially talk about customers and who we're working for and how that's going. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. We're getting a lot of completions work down here that's feeding the fire. Yeah.
Definitely from the dispatch side.
Well, boys, we've gone. Yeah, because they're moving every couple of days. We have a situation like that actually in our Lloydminster operation where they have these short wells and they're kind of every 2 or 3 days they move. It's a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, a lot of work, and kind of getting that same sense down here for what we're doing on the completion side.
So I do have a question for Nathan before we jump off here. We're kind of talking about the weather, talking about dispatching, talking about, you changing your ringer there. So dealing with water and sewer up there in the heart of winter, what kind of temperatures would you guys be looking at when it's dead of winter and you're trying to keep your, sewage moving and your water moving on a campsite with the houses and such?
Yes, Jordy. Well, I'll tell you, the coldest stretch, and we deal in degrees Celsius up here, but the coldest stretch I seen was 21 days, and it was in quite north in Alberta here. We've seen 21 days of minus 50 degrees Celsius, and we had an area we were covering 12 rigs, and these rigs move frequently, but that was the coldest, longest stretch I've seen. And I tell you, we worked around the clock to keep that stuff flowing the way it needed to. But every more typical, we're going to see like a stretch every winter. It doesn't fail. We see a stretch of about 2 weeks right around like that minus 30, 35 degrees Celsius. But that minus 50 stretch that's something I will never, ever forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just that kind of cold you can't describe it unless you really, really felt it.
Yeah, that's wild. And you're talking garden hose and 2-inch and a half hose, right? Trying to keep it flowing, and keep it thawed out.
Yeah. Yeah. What always impresses me is like we end up with all this 1.5-inch hose and it's kind of laying all over the province really. But if you add it all up, like you're talking kilometers and kilometers of hose that you're trying to keep flowing in the dead of winter. So it's actually like something to be a little bit proud of. I always tell our guys, like, you guys have at the moment, 5 or 6 kilometers of hose strung out all over the province, and it's all flowing, and it's minus 30. Great job. You should be really proud of what you've accomplished. And our guys like that. They like hearing those metrics because sometimes it's hard to put that into your mind exactly how much hose it is all over the countryside.
Yeah. And what's the key then? Just being proactive?
Yes, absolutely. The key is high quality heat trace, installed the right way, and on a breaker that's not going to trip.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a bit of a formula there. It's pretty simple, but you have to really be paying attention and being diligent about checking that stuff, or you can have a real mess real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a pretty good winter here last winter. I'd say I thought it was quite mild, but when it did get cold, a lot of success with our equipment. But nonetheless, Dirk hasn't seen the winter yet here at Capex. So is it fair to say February-ish he should change his ringer? Or?
Yeah, well, yeah, have a couple ringers downloaded so you can swap them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or share the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Jordy, I had a question for you from your podcast yesterday. I got the pleasure of listening to it today. I really liked it. I had a couple of chuckles, but you talked about bartending and how thankful you were of the skills that came over to your management career at Capex. So do you want to jump into that a little bit more?
Well, I guess I could try. Working behind the bar, I was quite young. Working behind the bar, I was probably 22, 23, 22, 23. So just you have to deal with so many different customers. You could be dealing with somebody who's 21 years old, and you could be dealing with somebody who's in their 70s, right? And everything in between. So the different walks of life that you're dealing with, you'd like to think that everybody's happy and, going to have a drink at the bar to have a good time, but that's not always the case. So really, I think the big thing was learning how to read people that much better, learning how to better communicate with people, things of that nature, and patience is a big part of it too, because you can't just, reach over and, kick somebody out all the time. You try to give people the benefit of the doubt. So patience is one of the biggest things there with bartending. But yeah, that's probably it. Reading people, being a people person. If you're looking to hone your people skills, go work in the bar.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of similar along the same vein as those guys that go and do door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
Just getting that many interactions in that short of a time period can force you to hone those people skills pretty quick.
Well, and because of that, those bartending skills, they teach you how to better deal with them door-to-door salesmen as well.
Yeah. You know how to kick them out.
Just be dry.
Yeah.
I was listening to an interview with Chris Pratt, the actor there, and that's where he got his start. Was he was a door-to-door direct salesman. I can't remember what he was selling, and he tells a funny story on how he answered an ad and did this and that. But what it taught him was the ability to handle rejection, and actors and actresses always talk about how they get rejected on whatever their casting calls or whatever the heck they call it. And he said, "Oh man, you don't know rejection." And so for him, it was just like, water off a duck's back type of a thing, the way that he described it, because he understood rejection doing direct sales, door-to-door sales, and every day, like having 100 no's or doors shut in your face. So there's some real, whether it's bartending or anything else, having kids, like you want to talk about teaching patience, like you can get that all over the place, but you gotta do something with it.
Dirk, what did you do before you came up to Williston?
I worked for the Department of Corrections in Utah. I worked at a state prison.
Wow, that's a good place to learn some patience.
I did have to learn some patience there. I was there for 4 years before I came out here.
Wow. That must have been interesting.
So I had to learn to be patient with man children.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, I'm going to reserve my comments. I was going to see if there's any comparisons to, our industry and that, but
I could make some, but I don't know if they'd be appropriate.
Funny, because you're not the first guy that we've had that. You're not the first guy that we had that worked same job. Robert did that back in the day, Jordy. And anyway, Man,
Eric as
maybe
well.
we attract state.
Yeah.
Right. Geez, 3. We attract
Only you attract prison guards.
we attract state prison guards.
Well, it's probably a good thing. It keeps us in order.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Keep us in line. Well, I have a hard stop for myself. You guys, what do you think? You guys going to stay on? I got to jump off and hit the road here, get to that border.
Yeah, you don't want to
No,
be
I'm
late for
probably
that.
going to jump off as well.
What do you think?
Sorry, Dirk. I cut over you there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
No, I was just, but then he doesn't want to be late for the border.
No, he just said I don't want to.
Yeah.
You got your test
Nope.
done there, Ben?
Yep, I'm all
Nice.
negative. I'm positive on the negative
Yeah,
side.
good news. You got a negative.
Yep. Yep. So I'm clean to come up, but no. Thanks, Dirk and Jordy, for jumping on real quick. I know we're still new at this and figuring some things out, but appreciate you guys' patience to jump on and join in the fun. Nathan, we'll see you soon.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
You bet. You guys.
Awesome to chat.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.